Hi, this is Matt with State of Flux, here to talk to you about Kevin Smith's next directorial effort, Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I said before that he dipped his toe a couple of times into the mainstream filmmaking. This was meant to be his big breakout success. The elements were all there, at least behind the scenes, to try and really make this Kevin Smith's first true mainstream success. He'd tried before with Mallrats, but he'd made a genuine attempt before at an honest filmmaking sensibility of a PG-13 movie with Ben Affleck in the lead, with Jersey Girl. And because of a confluence of events surrounding the movie kind of underperformed, underwhelmed, and had a poor critical response. Something happened similar to that again with Zack and Miri Make a Porno. This had some strong elements to it. It had Seth Rogen, who was just coming off of Knocked Up. It had Elizabeth Banks, like in her prime, right when she was like finding her soaring towards stardom after doing a lot of really solid, smaller roles in even bigger films such as the Spider-Man movies. And it had like Craig Robinson from The Office. It had Kevin Smith's own crew working for it. It had an intriguing title that you're like, what is this? And it had the full force of the Weinstein Company behind the movie, and they're ultimately what I think ended up tanking the movie. We'll touch on that in a little bit. Suffice it to say, this movie came out to pretty strong critical response. But it was dumped at an inopportune time. I don't know what they were thinking with the release strategy for this film. It came out Halloween weekend of 2008, and when I think of Halloween weekend, I don't think of seeing a movie like Zack and Miri Make a Porno. That just doesn't make sense to me, to see a feel-good comedy kind of on that weekend that's clearly set in the middle of winter. So that just seems strange to me. I know that behind the scenes, Smith and Weinstein's kind of butted heads on the release strategy of the film. The TV censors were not at all interested in promoting this film just because of the simple word porno that was in the title. This movie was greenlit based on title alone without a script. They were like, he pitched the name of the movie, and they were like, sold, and marketed it. And marketed it towards failure. People just simply did not know that this movie was coming out on a bad weekend for it to come out. So that was where the movie's failings came from. So, continuing on with a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff before I continue moving on. This is kind of the movie that broke Smith in a weird way. This was his second really genuine attempt at trying to tap into that mainstream audience. And when this didn't pan out, that was when he committed himself to sort of a pseudo-retirement. He would go on to make a couple movies over the next few years, but you could really see that his interest in being a filmmaker and trying to appeal to the masses was gone. And he decided to settle for his audience that he had grown and cultivated from the ground up and really focus on them. But he wouldn't even genuinely focus on them with his next couple of movies. It's going to be kind of interesting in the weeks coming up to discuss and dissect the next couple of movies that Smith would go on to make. But we are here to talk about Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Upon release, I saw this opening night with a bunch of friends, and we all thought this was just an uproarious good time. It is so fun and so funny. Does it hold up 10 plus years later? Not quite as well, but for the time, it was really, it felt both like a Kevin Smith film as well as contemporary comedies of the era. Coming back to it 10 years later, I think that's where its failings are. The Kevin Smith stuff works. The heart, the sentiment, the romance in the movie, the budding romance or whatever. Whenever the movie is at its core being somewhat sentimental, really works. And then there are some great comedy bits sprinkled throughout the thing. But the stuff that doesn't work is where he's trying to appeal to the masses of the R-rated comedies that were popular at the time. He's trying to feel like a Judd Apatow movie when that's not his sensibilities as a filmmaker, so it just feels artificial. This is most noticeable in the first 20 minutes of the film or so. There's more in this film than any other of the actors just kind of riffing off of each other, which is great. Like, some of that stuff is funny, but it slows the momentum down for this film. And all of the movies post-Jersey Girl that he has made seem to lack energy. It's Clerks 2's biggest downfall. I didn't really talk about it much on my addressing that film, but that movie lacks energy, and it's incredibly noticeable. This movie lacks energy at times. This movie goes for long beats where you have actors riffing off each other, but the energy of the film has completely dropped to a standstill. And this is my same problem with a lot of Judd Apatow's films. With Apatow, I think the problem is that he is not confident in the screenplays or the dialogue that he's written himself, so he turns to his actors to try to make it soar. And it works with films like 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up and a handful of others that he has done. It really does kind of work. Sorry, my cat's choosing this moment to eat. It works because the actors that he has assembled are really great and play off each other well, but the movies don't have a terribly long-lasting appeal beyond that initial viewing because of the lack of confidence of the filmmaker. Smith is a little more confident with his dialogue, so when he turns to his actors to have them riff up what he's already written, you get some immediate laughs, but the film lacks a cohesion because those scenes stand out from the rest of the pre-written dialogue-driven material. And his dialogue is typically good. Say what you will about Smith, he is a good writer when it comes to dialogue and people's voices and stuff like that. So that's my kind of biggest complaint with Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Too much trying to be the filmmaker that was popular at the time that he wasn't. And I think he talks about this a little bit in his making of. He doesn't address that being a problem with the movie, but he says he does definitely talk about trying to tap into being a Judd Apatow movie. And when I would really like to read his original drafts of this script without that kind of stuff and see how it reads. Because he wanted to make a star. So this movie came to fruition after he saw the 40-Year-Old Virgin, and his eye singled into Seth Rogen. And Seth Rogen, he felt, was the breakout star of that film. However, nobody else really did at the time. People all turned to Steve Carell or Paul Rudd or whatever. Whereas Smith thought Rogen was the standout, and he wanted to make that guy a movie star. So he went to bat for him, and had this movie come out sooner, I think this movie probably would have made Seth Rogen a movie star. That said, by the time he got Rogen on board, Knocked Up was just already coming out. So Rogen was already a superstar by the time he was in this film. And so I think he gave Rogen a little more chance to do his riffing of what worked for Knocked Up and stuff like that. I want to talk about the cast real quick. The cast in this film is exceptional. You have a really great Seth Rogen kind of performance where he does have some moments where he's really acting in this film. And he's trying, like, on the page, I feel like the character of Zack, much like the characters of Dante and T.S. and Holden and to some extent Bethany, and certainly Ollie Trinky. All the main characters in the Kevin Smith movie are basically Kevin Smith himself. Seth Rogen is the strongest at realizing the Kevin Smithiness of the character of Zack. He gives a pretty strong performance, and he does stand out. But the surrounding characters, Elizabeth Banks is also really quite great. But it was the surrounding characters that really sort of stole the show. Jason Mewes is in top form in this film. He is so fun and so funny. And I like his look with the short hair and stuff like that. Is kind of neat. Jeff Anderson, who I did not sing the praises of for Clerks 2, that was my failing. He was the best part of Clerks 2. He gave one of the strongest performances of any Kevin Smith film as Randall in Clerks 2, comes on this one. And he holds his own with superstar comedic talent surrounding him. And he has some of the funniest scenes and the funniest lines with his incredibly serious deadpan deliveries. And just like the sarcastic nature that is Jeff Anderson really sells his role. And fun little Tracy Lords and Katie Morgan and stuff like that surrounding him, surrounding out the cast. But this film lives and dies with its cast. It's, as I say, quite funny. And it really works on, like, the comedic level. That said, the movie doesn't have a whole lot of momentum. The first 20 minutes unfold rather slowly, and you're getting to know these characters and stuff, and I appreciate that. It's nice that you don't have, like, a movie that just zooms through, but it also lacks kind of energy. Once the plot of the film comes through where Zack and Miri Make a Porno is about Zack and Miri, who are in a relationship with each other, and a friendship relationship with each other, living together in this apartment. Suddenly their electricity is turned off, their water's turned off, and it's Thanksgiving weekend and stuff like that. It's freezing cold out, and they're like, we need money fast, let's make a porno, and they decide to become porn filmmakers by reimagining Star Wars as Star Whores. And you get a lot of little fun comedic bits out of that, but they go to work trying to make this movie soar. Once they get to making the porno, the movie has life and energy for quite a while, and that's when the budding romance of the two main leads really comes together into a singular vision, and the movie starts working really well, and has a really striking love-making scene in the film that I thought is really well photographed. Smith always attacks his visual style, but Dave Klein brought it this time around. Dave Klein, having shot Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, I thought he did quite a good job with Chasing Amy, was then fired by the Weinsteins for quite a while, but with Clerks 2, Smith was like, if I make Clerks 2, I make it with Dave Klein, and he shot that movie, and it was relatively unremarkable. Thought Dave Klein did a great job shooting this film. I liked the look of the film, the color, everything is well photographed, but none more so than the lovemaking scene. Anyway, after the lovemaking scene, there's like the relationship kind of unspools a little bit, and then the movie just like jump cuts to a long time later, and the movie loses its energy until it comes together really well for a final scene that is definitely memorable. But anyway. So, like, the lack of energy is this film's big problem. I give this movie 3 stars. It lands its central thesis, which is sometimes we need somebody to point out that with which we can't see for ourselves. That's the central thesis of this film, and I think it lands that message really well, in a way that also is kind of understandable if you've been with a person for so long in your life and you don't realize how you feel towards them as genuine feelings and stuff like that. I think this lands that pretty well. As I say, the romance of the film really kind of ties the thing together nicely. And that's where Smith excels at. The fact that this movie wasn't a breakout success, due to its incredibly poor marketing, they couldn't release the posters that they had originally shot because it was too graphic. But I urge you to go back and look at them. Not graphic whatsoever. It's incredibly, it's like, I guess, on the nose, but there's no hint of skin or anything. So much so that the posters for this film ended up being stick figure drawings. And that, kind of hurt the film. They were not allowed to air advertisements for this movie until after 10 p.m., just because of the word porno. So they finally took out "make a porno" from the title and just tried advertising it as Zack and Miri, to get on the 7 and 8 o'clock time schedules, but they just did that within the last week leading up to the film. There was just no awareness for it, so when it came out, it bombed, because people would rather spend their money Halloween weekend to watch a horror film rather than a Thanksgiving comedy that's not really about Thanksgiving at all. It's just set in the winter around the days of Thanksgiving. It just was poor marketing. Smith had a hardcore falling out with the Weinsteins, never to repair that relationship, probably for the betterment of his career. And this led Smith to spiral out of control with his career for quite some time. Up next, we're going to be discussing the only film Kevin Smith directed but did not write, which would be Cop Out. And that's a pretty fitting title for, pardon me, the film that we would get. But yeah, Zack and Miri Make a Porno is a good one. 3 stars on my radar here, or my list. What did you think of Zack and Miri Make a Porno? Did you like it back then? Did you even see it back then? I urge you to try and track it down now. It's a good movie. It's a little harder to find because it has the Weinstein Company logo at the head of it. So I don't know if that has made it an unfindable film. I know that has happened with a lot of Weinstein films that didn't get picked up immediately. But yeah, let us know in the comments down below, ding the bell, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.